to order the February 25th, 2026 Planning and Zoning Board meeting. Bobby, call the roll, please.
Rich Daly, Gigi DeBeck,
Here.
Paul Fisher, Robert Hartsoe,
Here.
David Mingus, Carla Coleman,
Here.
Fred Stacer.
Here. Okay, we still have a quorum. We have 5, but we have a quorum. All right, next item on the agenda is our traditional moment of silence. So if you would at this time, for the next 30 seconds, we'll observe a moment of silence, please. Thank you. Okay. Next item on our agenda is the approval of the minutes of the January 28th meeting. Chair will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of the minutes from January 28th, 2006.
2026.
26. Yeah.
Second.
Okay. Any questions on the motion? Okay. Bobby, call the roll.
Carla Coleman,
Yes.
Robert Hartsoe,
Yes.
Gigi DeBeck,
Yes.
David Mingus, Fred Stacer.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is individuals who want to speak tonight will need to be sworn in. So at this time, if you would stand and raise your right hand, and Bobby will swear you in. Thank you very much.
Please stand and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
All right. First item on the agenda is Parents Information and Resource Center Flex Unit Request, P&Z 25-05505. Owners Parents Information and Resource Center, Inc. At address is 817 North Dixie Highway. Mrs. Dolan.
Make this look right.
Broke the computer.
No.
Oh, okay.
Never
I
mind.
don't know.
I remember how to do it. Never mind, I remember. Good evening, Board. Jean Dolan, Development Services. This is our request by the Parent Resource Information Center for 12 flex units. As you know, last month it was postponed by the board until today. So the request is by the applicant, covered by Keith on behalf of the property owner. They're requesting 12 flex units to enable an existing office building to be converted to residential apartments. Does this sound really echoey to you? Okay, I'm just going to stand back a little bit.
Okay.
The building is referred to as the Parent Information and Resource Center and is located at 817 North Dixie Highway, which is south of Northwest 9th Street, east of North Dixie Highway, north of Northwest 8th Street, and west of North Dixie Highway, north of Northwest 8th Street, and east of Northwest 2nd Avenue. Since the site is less than 1 acre, it is exempt from any affordability requirement. The applicant intends to have all 12 units unrestricted in regard to income and affordability. So there were some challenges with this request when staff, got into it. Chapter 154.61, which governs the authorizations of flex units, does not specifically prohibit the use of flex for office building conversions to residential use. However, the requirements for flex are designed more for new construction and redevelopment. These same 12 flex units were granted to this building previously in 2003 via Resolution 2003-296, but they were not used and expired. The conceptual site plan typically required as a condition of approval for flex units will, in this case, reflect an existing condition which does not meet modern zoning requirements in some aspects. The site plan, floor plans, and change of use requirements must all be met before building permits can be issued. The cost of conversion, given the age of this building, are quite extensive. This building was built in 1954. Some of those costs will include an analysis of the basic structural integrity, whether there's asbestos and lead pipes still in place, installations of kitchens and bathrooms and accommodation for laundry facilities, upgrade of electrical for HVAC and other basic residential electric service needs, and interior and exterior metering, and water or wastewater utility infrastructure upgrades. Firewalls and other life safety considerations would also have to be accommodated during the change of use. Given the cost of the conversion, the actual use of the 12 flex units may not be economically feasible. But that said, there are criteria for a flex unit allocation, consistency with the goals, objectives, and policies of the comprehensive plan, and the use of flex units will produce a reasonable development pattern, and the criteria for reasonableness shall include compatibility of adjacent land uses and suitability of the parcels for various development patterns. Staff does find this is compatible with the adjacent land uses, and these are the three comp plan policies that address that specifically for increasing densities and using flex units. This is the context of the site. It's just, Sonata is just to the south, so everybody kind of knows where Sonata is. That's a good landmark. To the north is a small two-story mixed-use building that recently has gotten painted. It looks a lot nicer than it did. And then to the rear of the building, on the other side of the vacant lot, that's actually a residential rehab facility, which is one of the nicer ones in the city. It's very lovely. So in context, it's not a bad conversion for this building. So our alternative motions and recommendation, it's kind of lengthy, but I'm going to go through it all because there's a lot of conditions of approval. Alternative motion 1 is to recommend approval of the required 12 flex unit allocation as the board finds the application is consistent with the aforementioned pertinent future land use goals, objectives, and policies with the following conditions. Should compliance with any code requirement result in changes to the site that necessitate site plan approval, a new development order for a site plan for the property may be required. Number 2, the following must be approved or must be provided prior to building permit: a retroactive landscape plan, a site plan with tabular data that demonstrates compliance with all applicable zoning regulations, such as lot coverage, pervious, impervious area, minimum unit sizes, etc., an approved Broward County drainage permit, utility plan showing internal and external utility infrastructure and connections approved by the City Utility Department, a life safety plan, a SEPTED plan, approval of a change of use permit. All fencing must be brought up to code. All trash management must be code compliant. Plans that show all unnecessary pavement to be removed. Complete the right-of-way dedication for the Northwest 8th Court to provide the required 50-foot width, which is 25 feet to the center line. Plans that include a sidewalk along Northwest 8th Court. Plans that meet all code requirements, including the DRC comments issued for this flex unit allocation. Number 3, if a building permit is not issued within 2 years of the approval date, the applicant must request an extension of the approval of this flex allocation, or it will become null and void. Alternative motion number 2 would be to table this application for additional information as requested by the board, and staff does recommend alternative motion number 1. So typically, when we take this to commission, we'll have a resolution and the conceptual site plan will be attached. Since there's so many conditions, we had them actually add that to the bottom of the site plan so that when the next staff person, when they come in for a building permit, they'll see there was a lot of changes that were required, and that will inspire them to go make sure they know exactly what the flex resolution says. So I can take questions from the board, or we can turn it over to the applicant at this time.
Okay. Anybody have any questions of the board before we go to the applicant? Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes?
just before we start, I just want to recognize that Rich Daly did show up here at 6:05 p.m., and we'll reflect that in the minutes.
Sorry for the delay, traffic.
No problem.
coming from
I saw you
Sunrise.
had called, and I didn't realize you'd called, then I called back, so.
Yeah, I was driving, sorry.
No problem, no problem. Okay.
Thank you. Good evening. Jocelyn Aldez, 301 East Atlantic Boulevard. As mentioned tonight, we're going to be reviewing Parent Info and Resource Center Flex Unit allocation. So just a little bit of history on the site. The building was originally constructed in 1954 as a residential building with 12 units. Due to the widening of Dixie Highway, the original parking was moved to the rear of the building, and the building was converted to offices in the mid to late 2000s. So in the first image, we can see when the parking was right along Dixie Highway, and the last two images, we can see the parking moved to the rear, which is the existing condition today. So the site is zoned B3, general business, the property of .88 gross acres with 21 parking spaces. And as mentioned, the surrounding uses are commercial and residential. Tonight, we're requesting flex unit allocation of up to 12 units to convert this existing office building back into residential apartments. The office residential conversion is compatible with the surrounding uses, and the 12 flex units were previously allocated back in 2003, and as mentioned, they were never used. All the proposed units will meet current code, and they will go through the building permitting process. And overall, this request is consistent with the following policies in the comprehensive plan. I do have the owner here with me today to answer any questions.
Okay. Any questions at this point? Mr. Daly? I'll let Mr. Daly go.
Thank you. I'm sorry, Mrs. Coleman.
Go ahead.
You're more than welcome to go first.
No, I go first enough.
That's fair. This actually is for staff, Gene. Based on the B3 zoning, are they eligible to have any units, or is it just because they're looking for the flex because it's a B3, correct?
Yeah, commercial land use is what controls what your entitlements are, not the zoning, but there is no residential by right.
Okay. That was just my question. I just wanted to make sure they weren't looking to add additional units. It's just that there is looking to put units on there based on it. Thank you.
Sure. Mrs. Coleman?
Again, let's start with Jean before I get the questions I have for you. Ms. Dolan, if you don't mind. Did I read in the staff report someplace that the current density allows 4.35 units, or did I just imagine that in my head someplace?
No, we wouldn't give them 12 units if the density was only, because it's 46 units per acre under B3.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I must be mixing something. But does this building have any historical significance at all?
No, it's not on the
reason
local
we would
register.
There was no reason we would leave a 1954 building standing then. I just am trying to figure out, this is a really strange request to come to us on a building this old, this renovated, the way it's been renovated. It seems to me that it would be more economical to raise and start from scratch. But I just wanted to know if it had any historical. Does this site plan come back to us, or is it so small it does not?
Well, right now, they don't have to do another site plan. It's only if we discover something during their building permit review that makes us realize they really have to redo their site plan, so.
So they don't have to come back to us?
Not unless that's why we put that number one condition, because we aren't so sure. We're not really comfortable with the site plan, but we don't really have a trigger right now.
Well, I'm not really comfortable with this site plan either, which is why I'm asking these questions, especially if we don't even see, other than a 1954 rendition of it, what it would look like.
Well, this is an as-built of what's there now, so this is what's there. It doesn't meet all the standards, and again, when you're doing a retro landscape plan, it's never going to meet today's standards. It's just to retrofit the site.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Yep, Mr. Hartsoe.
I guess this question, probably for Gene, but
Probably should ask
it-
you before you sat down, I'm
why
sorry.
wouldn't this be a rezoning to residential instead of,
Because they don't need to. You can use flex instead of rezoning.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, and
That's
the
why
just
flex
wondering-
exists. It helps you. The reason flex exists is because in Broward County has land use authority. So when you have to do a land use plan amendment, you have to do it twice, once through the city, once through the county. It's an extremely long process. The county wants to help. So they created this flex process in order to facilitate projects so they wouldn't have to go through the onerous land use plan amendment process. So it's a tool. It really is a land use plan amendment. It's just a shortcut to one.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
The underlying land use is commercial, right? Okay, so that's why the residential, yeah. Okay,
Yeah, let me clarify, because I think I confused Rich. So the entitlements come from the land use, and that's what the flex comes from, because the county has land use authority. So that we have to give them flex units to get to the 46 units per acre in B3. So it's still, the entitlements are still coming from the land use, so, yeah.
It's only 12 units.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Mr. Chairman, may I
Yes.
ask one more?
please.
Well, what are the apartments? Are they one bedroom, two bedroom? How big
Yeah.
are they?
On the floor plans, they're one bedroom, all one bedroom units, and they just make the minimum unit
Square
size.
footage.
Which is,
Like 563 square feet, something like that.
and they're arguing that this is market rate.
Well, the market is only gonna pay so much for that unit. Market rate doesn't mean expensive.
Oh,
It's
I
just not
understand that, but
controlled.
I understand.
Yeah. With affordable, you can, if you have a restricted or unrestricted, we call them restricted or unrestricted. A restricted affordable unit just means it can't float with the market. So if it becomes a more expensive neighborhood, you're still capped. If it's unrestricted, you're still only gonna pay what the market will bear,
Right.
but it can go up and down with the market.
Right, okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
being that they're, from what I understand here, they're going to retrofit buildings that are on the site at this point, right? Like do they have to come up to code from an external perspective as well at that point? I presume internally they're gonna have to meet code, but they have to come up to code from an external perspective, right? Landscape, roof, everything, right?
It won't be 100% up to code with the landscaping. That's what they call a retroactive landscape plan for an existing building, because they just won't physically have the ability, just based on the building placement and so forth. But they will get as close to as code as they can. And yes, all the other features in terms of structural integrity and things would have to be up to code.
And the elevations and stuff, I mean, this wouldn't normally go through, because of the size of it, it wouldn't go to AAC. It's done, everything's done internally. And I realize it's a retrofit, so that throws me off, so.
Max Weems, Principal Planner and Development Services. AAC is triggered when there's a building addition. So if they're proposing to paint the building, the AAC won't consider the colors, but as soon as there's an addition to the building, whatever that is, the entire property would have to be approved by the AAC.
So they're gonna try to do this where they're not changing the elevations and the outside inner additions so that they would not have to go to AAC, is that,
The concept plan provided for this application does not show an addition to the building.
okay, okay. All right. Anybody else?
Mr.
Go ahead.
Chairman, just to be
Yeah.
fair, I would like to hear, I'd like to hear from the owner
Yeah.
as to
I was thinking
why
the same thing, yeah.
they might want to be doing this rather than why they want to be doing this plan. That's,
Okay. Is that fine?
Ma'am, just your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Janet Ward. I'm the president and CEO of the Parents Information and Resource Center known as PERC. We're a nonprofit community social service agency. We do children and adults and daycare and all those kinds of good stuff.
And the address, please.
817 North Dixie Highway, Pompano. So you want to know why we wanted to?
let me ask also, now that you have identified yourself, I knew this was the old Resource Center. I did not realize that the old Resource Center was doing renovation.
Yes,
Okay. So can you explain to us, are you a profit or nonprofit?
nonprofit.
Nonprofit, and what you see for the future of this building and why you want the 12 flex units? That will help us understand better what's going on.
Initially, we are a community mental health clinic, and we are a partial day hospital program under the Medicaid, Medicare. We take private insurance and all that. What happened was after COVID, most of our clinicians, before all of our clinicians and our service was done on site. But after COVID, our clinicians do telehealth services. So we had all of the space available because our clinicians work via telehealth. So we said our board reviewed what we could do with the building and how we could at least help some families with a place to live, because some of our patients need a place to live. They're working, they have employment, but they can't afford where they're living at. So we thought, let's look at the option for having it as for working families, working moms and their children. So that's what we thought about. And so that's why we said, let's see what the options are in terms of getting that done, getting the flex units so we can provide some housing for some of our families. Okay. Anything else?
Okay. Mr. Chairman, that's all my questions.
Okay, anybody else? All right, anybody in the audience want to speak on this item? Okay. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing portion. Any last minute things that the board wants to consider or discuss, or any other questions at this point?
Well, let me just say, I think that puts a very different light on a project than knowing it is a not-for-profit, at least for me, puts a slightly different light on it than a building owner trying to convert a 1954 building back into apartments. I still think it's going to be an incredible challenge, but I do understand how badly that kind of housing is needed, especially for older family members who have someone in their home who is almost aging out, if you want to put it that way. And I know that those kind of limitations are not put on this facility, but I think the ownership of it casts a slightly different light on a very unusual proposal.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you.
Yeah, same. I do tend to agree as well.
Yeah, I think that it sounds like it's something, that they're trying to find something that they can do for the community, in addition to what their regular services are. And, yeah, it's probably not, for this type of group, it's not probably feasible for them to be a semi-developer or whatever. And if they can do it, I think I probably would lean towards being open-minded to this. Obviously, if they ever did decide to sell the land, this would go away anyway. If somebody went to touch it, as soon as they touch it, it changes all these parameters from the conditions that you've put in there. So at least that's the way I understand it. So.
Hi, Max Williams, once again, Principal Planner, Development Services. In order for them to actually occupy the units with residential, they'll have to get a change of use permit to change their certificate of occupancy from a commercial use to a residential use. At that point, all of these conditions would be triggered. So this operator, if they choose to operate it in this way, would have to bring the site into compliance before it could be occupied with a residential use. Was that?
Yeah, I think so. And the other thing is there is basically no advantage to them to do this and then try to flip the property to somebody who might be more intense, because that it's not going to comply with any of this stuff at that point. They would have to come up, and build a new building or something if they started, either a new building or a significantly revised building, which would trigger a bunch of these conditions, assuming we put the conditions on.
I mean,
May
that's
I ask that
a
a slightly different way?
Yeah, go ahead.
If they decided to sell this property after they get the flex units, do the flex units stay with the property?
Yeah.
Or do they go away?
The flex units become vested by a building permit, but this approval is valid for 2 years until such time. So they could get this approval for 12 units, sell the property to somebody who would then have to comply with this flex approval in order to introduce residential to the property within that 2-year time window.
Is there any other requirement that you would suggest that you can think of to tighten it to this use, that you could think of that we could put in the requirements?
No. Entitlements run with the land, it's not with the owner.
Yeah, what I think is the case though is that and I think that Mr. Chair, you alluded to this, if someone comes on and they sell the property and someone comes on to do something, they're not going to retrofit 4 buildings again to try to do something. They're going to do something that's going to trigger AC and site plans and come back to us at that point. You know, they're going to have to tear down because they can't really fit more onto it from what they're currently doing. They're 500 square foot apartments at this point already.
Which would then be a new application
Yes.
for flex and a new site plan. Yeah.
But the 12 units would stay with it. The flex would stay with it, but if they started redesigning something, okay.
If they needed
it
more
would
than
be
12.
They'd still have to go through the whole process, assuming that they did anything that's not going to comply with these conditions then. Okay. All right. I think I'm comfortable now.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just have actually one question.
Yeah, go
for the applicant. Does this stay within and I'm sorry, I know we closed public hearing and we did all the things we're not supposed to be.
No, we can ask questions.
Is this going to stay within the nonprofit, or is this going to turn into a privately owned unit system for you or whomever on the board?
Our bylaw says that we transfer property to another nonprofit. If there was a point where we were to do anything or change or merge or do anything with another, it's usually we have to do with another nonprofit. So, we have no intent of selling the property. We gave up on that idea. We just wanted to help do the housing, whether we did family housing or senior housing, but it was just because we have all that extra space. We wanted to use it for something other than just having it sitting there because all our therapists is at home working.
Okay.
Okay.
I finally got it, I think. I'm glad. You had to say it 6 times, but I think I got it now. And I appreciate your, consistency.
Are we ready for a motion?
I think so, unless anybody else have any other questions? Okay, no, go ahead, Mr. Dow.
I'd like to make a motion in consideration of planning and zoning application number 2505000005. I move that the board finds that the proposed allocation of 12 residential flex units is consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the comprehensive plan and recommends approval of the flex allocation to the city commission for their consideration with how many conditions is it? 2? 3. 3 conditions, subject to the 3 conditions approved by staff. Provided by staff, I'm sorry.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, to get it onto the floor, I forgot to ask, your client's fine with the 3 conditions of staff, correct? Yes. Okay, for the record. Okay. Anybody have any questions on the motion? Seeing none, Bobby, call the roll on item number 1, please.
Rich Daly,
Yes.
Gigi Dubeck,
Yes.
Robert Hartsoe,
Yes.
David Mingus,
Yes.
Carla Coleman,
Yes.
Fred Stacer.
Yes. Thank you very much. Good luck with your.
Go help some people.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Next item, item number 2, Vera, and this is a major administrative adjustment only. It has been in the past, both an administrative adjustment and major site plan, but we're only on the major administrative adjustment today. Major administrative adjustment, P and Z 25-165403. Address is 1600 South Federal Highway. Mr. Cady, your presentation, sir.
Good evening, and thank you, Mr. Chairman and board members. I'm Jonathan Caddy with Development Services, and the subject for discussion is Vera Major Administrative Adjustment. The property is located south of East McNabb Road, north of Northeast 65th Street, Port Royale Boulevard, and east of Federal Highway. The site address is 1600 South Federal Highway, Pompano Beach, Florida, 33062. The site is bordered by a general business zoning designation to the north and west, and to the south it is bordered by limited business zoning designation. To the east it is bordered by multifamily residence RM20 zoning designation. The applicant is requesting a 12.54% reduction in the number of parking spaces required through a major administrative adjustment for the proposed mixed-use development. The request seeks to reduce the minimum required parking spaces from 343 spaces to 300 spaces, resulting in a reduction of 43 parking spaces. The adjustment would allow the applicant to propose a total of 300 parking spaces on site, as currently AEC hasn't been submitted yet because they're in DRC submittal review for the proposed parking structure. So here's a larger view of the proposed site plan. So the bottom left is the color triangles. So these color triangles identify the designated use of each of the spaces. Here's a better view. So the applicant is proposing 100% of the residents parking, so 142 spaces, 100% of the guest parking, a reduction of 28% of the office parking spaces, and 100% bank parking spaces provided, as well as 100% retail parking spaces. The parking regulation for the 1 to 2 bedroom unit standards is 1 parking space per 1,000 square feet in accordance with the city's code standards for the county's affordable housing policy, totaling 169 parking spaces for the proposed residential use. The above parking spaces for the commercial component required and provided by the applicant totaling 174 parking spaces, with both the residential and commercial totaling 343 parking spaces. Within the submitted plans, the parking count and allocation are identified, and a total of 108 parking spaces are assigned to the existing office building, whereas 151 is required. This reflects a 28.5% reduction from the required parking space for office use and a 12.54% reduction in the overall parking required for the site. This is a view of the proposed parking structure. Last time when they came in, this wasn't a part of the proposal, but this is included to meet the parking standards. And this is an aerial view of the proposed parking structure to the right side of the existing office building. It's important to note that the parking structure is currently in review at DRC and hasn't been approved yet. Should the board find that the applicant has provided competent, substantial evidence to satisfy the review standards for the major site plan approval, the Development Services Department recommends approval of the major administrative adjustment subject to the following comments and conditions. If this application is approved, the applicant shall record the development order and administrative adjustment document with Broward County. A copy of the recorded approval should be submitted at the time of the building permit. Maintain parking spaces designations for all uses on the lot for all levels of the parking structures, clearly identifying which spaces correspond to each use or which spaces may be shared. Maintain the reduction in the number of required parking spaces for only the existing office building in use, as shown on the site plan provided as backup for this adjustment. Subject to substantial conformance to the site plan provided as backup for this adjustment, if major modifications in the site plan are required through the review of the site plan and the revisions result in changes to the terms of the approved major administrative adjustment, the item will be required to return to the Planning and Zoning Board for review and approval of a revised administrative adjustment. According to state statute 366.94, it is unlawful for any person to stop, stand, or park a vehicle that is not capable of using an electrical recharging station within any parking space specifically designated for charging an electric vehicle. Ensure that sufficient parking is available, excluding spaces designated for EV charging only. Standard conditions of approval and their specifications required prior to building permit, zoning compliance permit issuance. Plans are subject to compliance with all applicable code requirements, including but not limited to DRC comments issued for this site plan. This slide is provided for your reference. You may use either of the two options shown when making a motion on this item. As previously stated, staff recommends approval to the major administrative adjustment. This concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions on behalf of staff, and the applicant is also intended to present their case for the item.
Okay. Anybody have any questions of staff before we move on? All right. Seeing none? Mrs. West, you have something for us this evening?
That's a little small for me. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning and Zoning Board. My name is Paula West. I am president of Plan West. Address is 10152 Indiantown Road, Unit 159, Jupiter, Florida. With me, I have Yuri Harantonenkov, who is representing ownership, Jean-Francois Gervais, who is part of the architecture team, he's the architect, and Carl Peterson from KBP, who is the traffic engineer. And this is, again, Vera. So, again, I'm sure you've probably gotten it clear, but this is strictly for the major administrative adjustment. This is not the site plan. Because we made that, that change to provide that parking garage on the south end, that actually required the DRC to review, so it's in review now. We're supposed to have our meeting next Wednesday. The conditions, or the comments that we've gotten are good, so just wanted to put that into record. So this is Vera. I'm gonna go through the presentation again, only for the adjustment, because I know that we have members here that weren't here in the last time, so I'll just kind of summarize it all over again for you. So the property is located at 1600 South Federal Highway. It is at the south end of the city of Pompano Beach's limit. It is located in the Santa Barbara Shores neighborhood of the city, and I also provided a 1975 aerial for you to see. It's been developed since then. Prior to that, it looks like the property had a mobile home park. And then that's just showing the boundaries of the city. So a little bit of the project. So the property is just about 2.3 acres or so. We're located in a B3 commercial zoning district, also in a commercial land use designation. I believe we are the first project to apply for the policy 216.4 from the county, which gives us a density bonus for using so much commercial and actually being called a mixed-use project. We are actually, so that's something I forgot to mention last time, is this board would be allocating the flex units, not the commission. So that's a little different. We're proposing a mixed-use development of 132 multifamily units and about 82,000 or so square feet of commercial, which includes that existing office building that you saw in that historic aerial. There is some additional retail proposed. The site plan will be reviewed, as I mentioned, next week for the DRC. We've gone through DRC 4 times now, so we've been really, really reviewed. And of course, we hope to come back to this board for site plan approval in April. And we're also doing platting for the property. So as Jonathan mentioned, we are requesting a 12.5% reduction in parking, definitely different from the 20, maybe it was 36% that we came last time with. This board is able to grant up to 40%. Kind of some background on the adjustment. The code actually has a minor administrative adjustment that allows up to a 20% reduction. That's under the Director of Development Services. You all can go above that to a 40%. So we are under that 20% because staff and Development Services Director thought this was such a substantial reduction, even if it's 12.5%, that this board should actually approve that, and he is able to do that. So this is the table that we've provided in our backup. We are providing 300 parking spaces. We are required 343. And that's also using that 1 per 1,000 square foot parking requirement. So again, with the minor administrative adjustment, different from the major, if we want to ask of the Development Services Director to approve a reduction up to 20%, we are able to refer to 1555102K, which is the different strategies that you can apply to ask for that, to justify that that request in a reduction. So again, I'm going to go through them. We are using 3 in the code. The first one is a reduction because of transit accessibility. So that gives us a 15% reduction in parking if we have a bus or rapid transit stop within 1,000 feet of this, of a property. So the image in front of you shows that we have 3, not 1, bus stops nearby. 1 is directly in front of the property. And I also added a slide of the Broward County Transit bus stops. Sorry. So Broward County Bus Route 62 bus stop number 10 actually is that one that's right in front of the property. And that one actually has a direct connection to the Cypress Creek Tri-Rail Station. So in addition to providing bus stops nearby, we actually also have a direct connection to the train. The next strategy that we're claiming is the one about special facilities for bicycle commuters. So this gives you a 5% reduction if you provide facilities for people who want to use bikes as a transportation method. So it provides for showers, changing rooms, and bike lockers. So I provided a snapshot of our site plan showing that we are providing those facilities, and therefore we fall under that. And then the last one is kind of a catch-all other category. So that one gives us a 10% reduction. And what we decided to do with that alternative is to show you that we are actually going to be dedicating a full floor, I mentioned this last time, it's 5,000 square feet of co-working space in that existing office building. So that is a space that anyone who lives in the mixed-use project can then use as working from home, as I do, can actually use this space to work out of. So then you really don't need parking. So 5,000 square feet is going to be dedicated for residents only. And we're also using the ITE parking for office use and the ULI parking reduction, or reduced parking calculation for guest spaces to show you. Again, we're not reducing any of the residential parking whatsoever, but we're just showing you that there's actually a lesser demand for office space and for guest parking. And like I said, I have Carl here from KBP to explain all of the math that went behind the calculations, but that is the table in front of you. For the office space in particular, the demand actually ended up being 117 parking spaces for the office building. And then for the guest parking, regardless of the number of bedrooms, the parking demand is less than 1 parking space, or 1 at least. So I also included in my backup, just make sure I didn't miss anything. Yeah, so in my backup, I included 3 articles that talk about how parking has been impacted by the pandemic. And before I get into that, I just want to point out that the item before us came in front of you to kind of do something extra with space that was left over because the pandemic has changed the way that we've all worked and the way that office space is used. So I just wanted to put that into the record. And I tried to find articles that have been more closer to today, but still the articles are still those same 3 ones. So the first one was from January of last year, and it was written by Town Park, which is a parking management solutions company that focuses on hospitality, so mostly hotels and things like that. The article is basically talking about the ripple effects of the pandemic on parking. So the only thing I wanted to point out in this article was the effects on office occupancy rates in major cities are pretty staggering. So I'm just gonna summarize those. So Chicago in the central business district, in the busiest area, there was a vacancy rate of 22.4% in the first quarter. In Boston, 23%, New York, 23.6%, in Denver, 33.8%, and in San Francisco, 37%. Second article is more about the trends of parking. So in this article, it actually, the highlights that I wanted to point out was that US workers in 2023 were about 13.8% that worked from home. So 2023. So starting at 2019, that was 5.7% of US workers. 2021, it went up to 17.9%. 2022, 15.2%. So it's kind of doing this. 2019, or sorry, yeah, I already said 2019. 2023, as I mentioned, was 13.8%. And summarizing, in 2019, there was 9 million people that worked from home. In 2023, that went up to 22 million. So it's definitely going up. And then the last article basically answers the question, is work from home here to stay? Excuse me. So it starts by talking about how Amazon and AT&T are allowing employees to work from home. And then they surveyed executives, and of the executives surveyed, 12% who currently have hybrid or fully remote workers reported plans for some kind of return to office mandate in the year ahead. Many of those actually weren't, completely returned to work 100%. It was like some sort of hybrid type of schedule. So more than a quarter of the planned return to work orders were hybrid in nature, requiring on-site work to only 1 to 4 days a week. It talks about how the recession would potentially affect that, and it really wouldn't, or a recession, not the recession. Employees are satisfied with the benefits that they're seeing from work from home arrangements, which includes reduced floor space needs, better productivity, and lower quit rates. Interestingly, in December 2024, another survey was done. It says that 44% of respondents said they would comply with a return to office policy requiring fully work on site. The rest said they would quit or start looking for another job. And then at the end, it says, as of 2025, work from home days account for a quarter of all paid work days in the US. So it's definitely not going anywhere. And as you could see from the last item. So getting into the standards for the adjustment. With the presentation I've given to you, we have addressed standard A, which shows that we achieve the intent of the subject standard to the same or higher degree than code. And then C, we impose no greater impacts on adjacent lands that would occur through complying with the specific requirements of the code. To address B, so B asks if we're consistent with the comprehensive plan. So these are the policies that I wanted to list and highlight for you. And these policies are specifically for the city, really asking for the city to reduce parking standards and that kind of thing. So first policy, reduce parking requirements for residential and commercial uses along major corridors. We're on Federal Highway. Where it can be shown that pedestrian and transit amenities are provided, shared parking is provided. We're doing that. Second one, revise existing off-street parking, considering shared parking and parking rates by uses. We're doing that. Revise parking codes to include incentives for mass transit uses and other transportation alternatives that don't require parking. We're doing that. And revise parking codes to allow for parking space credit for transportation options that don't require parking. We're doing that. And I just want to put into the record that I believe that these policies are being kind of met by an adjustment, like an application of this type. So that's available for the public. Last standard asks if we provide one or more of the following benefits. So we do provide de-restricted workforce and/or affordable housing. We are a mixed use project. We are designating 20 moderate income units within the building that are going to be deed-restricted. We are preserving 28 trees that are existing. We're mitigating 33 of them, and we're providing 93 native trees where only 17 are required by code. And then the last one, we are building above base flood. We're 1.4 feet higher than base flood for the residential portion, and the commercial portion is going to be flood-proofed to 8 NAVD, which we have a finished floor elevation of 6.4. And that concludes my presentation. And again, I have Carl here if you want to hear the fun math.
Okay. let me just put this into the record, that you're fine with the 5 conditions of staff?
Yes.
Okay. All right, who would like to go? Questions?
Well, is there anybody else that has questions?
I do.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think that 43 spots is not enough that you need to fulfill. Because I live in a condo, I also work at home a few days and in Miami the remainder of the time. It's very challenging because if you have at least, 2 people that live in an apartment, most of them need 2 cars. Whether you work at home or you don't, you still need 2 cars. So you're only allowing 1 car per unit. So right there is going to be a shortfall. And I can tell you, most people don't take the bus. This is not a transit market. It just isn't. And I don't see that changing anytime soon. And parking in the city right now is a huge challenge, really is. And I'm challenged by it every single day just in our small building. And we do have 1 parking space per unit, and it's a problem. And it's a huge challenge. And I just think it continues to be a challenge, and it's quite a bit, you're falling short. I think that you could do better with providing more spaces. That's my opinion.
May I respond, or should I just wait until the end?
Yeah, if you want to.
I can't exactly tell you what article it was I read, but I did read an article that talks about how younger people are really not relying on cars as much now as they were in the past. You said not everybody uses the bus, but some people do. And I actually can add to that I myself am using Uber more often, so it's not necessarily just bus. Uber is definitely something that people are using, especially to get to short distances. And of course, seeing that there's connection to the train, more people are using the train as well. So I just wanted to just kind of add that there.
Okay.
Oh.
Hi, Jean-François Gervais, ID Architects, 3323 Northeast 163rd Street, North Miami Beach. We actually agree with you. It wouldn't be enough to have 1 parking space per apartment. The way we base our calculation, the parking reduction would be applying to the office, the commercial component of the development. So the numbers are the following. We actually respect the code requirement for parking for the residential use. So while we propose 132 dwelling units, we're allocating 169 parking for the residential component.
Okay.
So, may I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Really trying to wrap, like, this isn't something that I want to be against. Okay, so I want to say that right now. But I'd like to understand if there's a possibility, because I know that the building capacity for the commercial use, the last time we talked about it was something around 100 cars a day, right? I think that's the number we landed on last time. Correct me if I'm wrong. But would it be possible to do some sort of flex parking situation within both of the buildings? Have during the day a few of the residential spots be available for the office space, and in the evenings a few of the office spaces be available for the residential side. Maybe allocating some of those spots be kind of A or B usage, so that there is potentially more residential parking for people that left for work during the day and come home at night, and that there is more availability for people that leave during the day, and the spots for the office are available at that point. Just a thought. There is a lot of parking on the site. It's just how it's allocated and the times in which people are going to be there don't always seem to add up to me. And that's where I'm trying to wrap my head around here.
I'm a little confused. I would rather not touch the residential parking whatsoever. If there was a sharing kind of component, it would probably be between the commercial aspect of things and not the residential. But I don't really understand what you were saying about sharing the residential parking.
Yeah, so if someone, let's just say that or the guest spaces per se then, the guest spaces could be allocated for additional usage for the office overage. Say that the because that's where you're deficient. You're deficient in the office space. So what I'm trying to say is that, yeah, there's probably not enough residential parking, as my colleague up on the board on the dais stated, and I'm sure we're up to code. You know what I mean? But to me, code is not where it's supposed to be. But if we could allocate some sort of capacity to be flexible from the office space side, and if we have to from the other side, because that's where you're deficient, if you get what I'm saying there. I just want to make sure that we are capable of saying that there would be availability to park in times where people would need it more. Does that make sense? Did you get it that time? Maybe,
Well-
anybody?
It seems,
I just want to defer to Carl.
Good evening. Carl Peterson, KPP Consulting, offices at 8400 North University Drive in Tamarack. Your question goes right back to December when I stood here and testified. Although the question wasn't at that time specifically about shared parking, it was about the shared parking manual. And the topic that you bring up is exactly that, what we in the industry refer to as shared parking, where you share the parking supply amongst two or more uses. So I hear exactly what you're saying, especially with respect to the guest parking, because typically for residential developments, the guest parking isn't really in high demand during the day. It's more in demand in the evening. So that's, to your point, a nice trade-off. We can use that guest parking during the day as shared between residential and the office, and then in the evening it's available for the residential.
And then some of the office spaces could be available for residential in the evening as well?
Exactly. If somebody has more than a usual number of visitors, there's obviously an abundance of parking available there that would be otherwise designated to the office space.
I could get on board with the project, well, the allocation, if that were in some sort of writing. I'm sure that I could get on board with the project at that point, or an agreement to something.
Okay. Sure.
I just have a question, because, so your code actually does talk about shared parking, but then the city would be a party to it. So how would that work? Would it be some sort of an agreement with the city?
That's outside of my pay grade, Paolo, sorry.
Hi, Max Weems, Principal Planner Development Services. I agree that the use of the residential to support the commercial should not really be the focus. Maybe the guest, I can see that during the day, guest parking may not be in very high demand, but certainly that the commercial parking could be used as overflow. I've been to lots of garages where it says between the hours of X to 6 p.m. it's office only, and after such time it's guest parking or overflow for residential. Of course, they'd have to have some kind of parking registration program or whatever, but that's for their own operations. In terms of the shared parking agreements that the city is party to, that's usually when it's involving multiple property owners or a shared lot that's off-site. If the site plan that's approved includes a shared parking program for the property itself, the city doesn't need to be a party to it. The site plan would just have those conditions of approval. And so that is something that the standards in our code wouldn't apply in this case because we wouldn't need an agreement. The site plan would be that agreement.
For me, I would want to see a condition added that on their site plan, they'd have a shared parking agreement before I would be able to approve this. Is that an acceptable condition, potentially? Can we add that as a condition?
Yeah, I guess I just first want to talk a little bit more about the uses and how that should be designated. The first issue that was raised that there was insufficient residential parking, not the other way around. And so I did want to say that they are meeting our code minimums. I think that has been stated, but that with the use of the overflow commercial spaces, that may satisfy some of your concerns. I don't know that it does. With the commercial parking, that's where they are proposing the minimums, and I think that they have, as part of their backup, made an attempt to justify that reduction to a point where maybe we're comfortable with a 20% reduction for the commercial uses. There also, with the commitment of the whole floor of the office to something that's amenity for the residential use, that would be subtracted from the commercial requirements, because now it's a residential amenity space. So I just want to say that as well. So all of this, to me, I think supports the concept of, with a shared parking program for the site, where 100% of the residential is provided, and then some overflow in the evening, may be a supportable, yeah, right, where variable hours are a factor.
Yes.
Could be a approvable condition, I'm not sure.
Can we go back through the actual numbers again? Because I think,
There was a slide that had the numbers.
yeah. Because I think we're talking in generalities and what our code says, and, okay. So the way that this is the legend as you see it, because is that 300? Whoops, back up one. Go back to, I like the other slide. Is that up to 300?
Yes, that's the
Okay,
300.
because I didn't want to do the math myself. Okay, so the residence, the number of apartment units requires 142 spaces.
Correct.
Okay, and it's 100 and how many units? 20 something? 132. Okay, so 132 requires 142 plus the 27 guest spaces. Okay. So if you divided the project up, then you'd have 169 you'd have 169 on the residential side, assuming we were able to do this, 169 for the residential side and for 122 units. And that's the way you guys are like so-called proposing, right, to do that?
Right.
Okay. So, go ahead. The math on that is what, about 1.3 or something, 1.4 spaces?
So, right, the way that our code is set up right now, if it's a 1 or 2 bedroom unit, it's one space. Oh, you're looking at overall, what is the number of spaces per unit? Right, whatever.
I'd be glad to do it.
And the 169 is
Can't do it in my
inclusive of
head anymore.
guest.
169 divided by 122. Okay, so we got almost 1.38, 1.39, almost 1.4. Okay, spaces per front door that are dedicated to the residential side. That's not, we're in town, that doesn't seem that bad. That seems actually pretty good to me, but, okay.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question since
Go
we've
ahead.
got them both in? Now, we haven't heard from audience to be heard yet, and I still want to do that, of course, but Ms. West, I listened very carefully to what you said about work from home and occupancy rates. And I can understand hearing your work from home presentation, where you want to make sure you do 100% of the residential parking. And in my own family, I've got a child and a spouse who've gone from 2 cars to 1 car because one is full-time working at home. And they live in a house. But I was also listening intently to your presentation on occupancy rates. Can you tell me what the occupancy rate for the commercial at this site is?
Yes, we mentioned that at the last meeting. The occupancy rate's actually about 90-something%. So it's mostly occupied.
Okay.
Yes.
But it would be pretty rare for it to be 100% occupied, would it not?
Yes.
So, is there going to be any marking between the bank, retail, and the office saying you can only park here if it's retail, or you can only park here if it's bank, or you can only, or does that all?
It's on the site plan, yeah. It's on the site plan already with that little legend.
Okay, well, I was trying to look at all of this on an iPad when I was prepping, so forgive me.
That's okay.
Okay. I'm just trying to get from here to there, and I will tell you that this presentation makes a lot more sense than the last one we saw.
Thank you.
Would you mind going back to that other slide one more time? You guys,
That one?
every time I look up, the slide's gone. I'm like, am I that slow? Really? Okay, so the office at 108. Okay, retail's right and the bank's right, so where it's coming off is in the office space. Okay. Go do whatever you want to do. Just change it again, please. I don't want to look at it anymore.
That floor is.
He's done with the slide. Change the slide, change the slide.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, there's another issue here. But that issue is, this board has been pretty specific about not allowing folks to come before us who have not been approved by AAC. Now we've got a site plan, a much improved site plan. We still haven't heard from audience to be heard. That hasn't gone and been approved by DRC. That puts them very much at risk, as well as any approval we do tonight. At quite a risk, because, DRC may say, I can't get my fire trucks around, I can't get this around, or you can't build in that spot because there's a utility main below it. And I would feel a lot more comfortable with this if I had DRC comments on this site plan.
Well, let me ask the staff a question then. I think it's to your point. What happens if we turn down the site plan after we approve this major administrative adjustment, but then we turn the site plan down? And they would have to change something that would change the parking count.
Yeah, then the whole thing would have to come back in front of this board. I can tell you, to answer your question, we have the comments. Fire did not have any conditions of the redesign. Zoning had a few comments that we're going to be talking about, and I forget what the other discipline was.
The 3 disciplines that are requiring resubmittal is BSO, landscape, and zoning. And if the item was to get denied, they would have to come back for major administrative adjustment to P&Z. That's one of the conditions. I believe it's the 3rd one.
And I understand that, but this is just like the problems we had with things coming to us before AAC had yes, it would have to come back if they, but I don't want to put a stamp of approval on something that has not gone through the process in the right order to try to keep things that have been approved from having to come back and be approved again.
Well, I can tell you, to speak on the owner's behalf, the idea was to see if this board approved the reduction, then we can move forward with the project. If the reduction of parking is not approved, the project dies.
Okay.
That's why I thought they were probably doing it, and now she's put it on the record, so.
We did submit.
I just want it on the record because I really don't like things to come out of order.
We didn't expect the DRC having to, re-review everything, so we submitted for this board and we submitted for DRC at the same time, just hoping to make everybody happy.
Okay.
It's also important to note that the site plan will also be coming to the P&Z board, so you also have a chance to look at that as well.
Of course.
Yeah. Go ahead, Robert.
Try to understand the nexus between working at home and the parking. Can you kind of tell me where you were coming from for that? Because I think
It was
Carla
to,
had said it, she was talking about the residential, and to me, I was thinking that you meant that people aren't going to use the commercial tower that's already existing.
no.
Which one is it?
It was to point 2 things out. It was to justify that we could provide a co-working space for people who work from home if they need it, but it's also to point out that they are not going to need a car to get to work, which is what the trend is. So that is also kind of adding to the whole reduction in parking.
Is the theory that they're not going to use the car to go to work, but they would still need a car to go shopping or go to the store or go to a restaurant?
I'm sure some people will, but like I said, most people, not most people, let me back up. Some people are using Uber, some people are using the bus, some people are using the train. So this is really to accommodate that mixture of uses and mixture of uses of modes of transportation.
So it seems like a policy issue, though, for the city of Pompano to decide whether they want to reduce their requirements within that, not for this board to say, I don't agree with that policy. Let's grant an exemption, right?
I would argue that the city has done that in allowing for us to ask for these adjustments. This major adjustment in front of you and a minor adjustment with the development service, which I've done a couple times before.
Okay, and the other question I have, and I don't know if I'm satisfied as much as, or if Carl is even satisfied, but and I have it written, that same question was, in your presentation you have, well, as you can see from the site plan, the parking will be consistent with the comp plan. But they're not traveling concurrently. So without them traveling concurrently, we can't look at the site plan because we don't know what's approved. So I don't know, and maybe this is a question for staff, why aren't these, don't you require these things to move concurrently if we got to rely on the site plan that we haven't seen?
We don't require it. We certainly encourage it. And we made it very clear to the applicant that if they were to move forward in this fashion, that it was with great risk. I think they understand that, and that's why they've requested to be back here today. Of course, they have to resolve all of their issues one way or another, which is why we've created the conditions in the way that we have, so that should, through the DRC, the site plan be required to be modified in a way that it's no longer consistent with the adjustment we've approved tonight, they'll have to come back for another stab at the adjustment to match whatever the site plan has been modified to show.
And I just want to put on record, so a lot of my clients, if they need some sort of relief, let's just say it's a variance, the project really cannot go forward not knowing if you're going to have that variance or not. So they do the best to put together a conceptual plan, to take it to the Zoning Board of Appeals, showing them, good faith that you're actually doing something, you have your design professionals, and with that, then they go in front of the DRC, the PNZ, and all this stuff. So this is kind of similar to that. We've done 4 reviews in DRC now, and I can tell you the BSO comments are, for me, they're crime prevention, and I can handle them. Zoning, you guys can speak to whether or not you feel comfortable, but I feel comfortable that we're going to address those comments. And then landscaping is kind of similar to the zoning comments, so I'm not really concerned with the DRC comments. You guys are going to see the site plan in April. It is our goal to just get the approval from DRC and then immediately submit to this board and to AEC.
I have a question. You've brought this 5,000 square feet of whatever we call this space, co-working space, I think you call it. How is that codified somehow? Or you're saying you're going to do it? Does it, what, is that something that, I mean, who's to say that you change your mind and it doesn't happen?
We're offering it, you can make it a condition.
Okay. It would? We'd have to add it, okay. Well, geez, I finally asked a good question, huh?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I know the site plan's not here tonight, but I was trying to review it. Like, what are the sizes of the units in the building again? Like, are they two families, 3 families? I think there's like 10 3-families I saw, but are the rest of them two bedroom? I'm sorry, not 3-family. 3 bedroom, 2 bedroom. What's the breakdown again? We're gonna go back to slide. No, this is the slide.
This is not my presentation.
It's not on the
This is
parking
staff.
slide. I know it. I've looked at that.
This is not my
Memorized
presentation.
Okay, so it's
Yes, there's 10 2-bedroom units, the rest
10.
are 1.
There you go.
okay. So they're 1-bedroom units and 10 2-bedroom units.
No. 10 3-bedroom
Right.
units, right?
I'm sorry, it's
That's what she said, though.
2-bedroom, and there's 10 that are 3-bedroom.
Okay,
Thank you.
that's a lot.
Okay.
Of course, it does meet code. Of course, because code is code. But I would want to see You know what, I tend to agree with my colleagues that I think that we need to see this go before DRC before I could agree to vote on this tonight. But even if this comes back, if you guys decide to come back, well, I'm sorry, if it does go someplace and comes back before us, I would want to see some sort of shared parking agreement for me to be comfortable voting on this in a favorable fashion. Just putting that out there.
So is that, well, I don't want to get to that yet, because we're not even to motion, close to motion yet, but, yeah. Okay. Anybody else, or we'll go ahead and open it up to public hearing. Okay. Anybody in the audience like to speak? Yes, ma'am, come on down. We talked a long time, it's your turn. But we restricted to 3 minutes, I'm sorry.
I'm Sarah Bellato, and I live at 1581 Southeast 23rd Avenue, right behind this building that's being talked about.
Yes,
if I understand right, they have built, or they have on there a building parking facility that they're adding. If they can add that parking, why can't they add another floor to it and add more parking to accommodate everybody? I'm hoping that we're not going to stay in the pandemic stage forever, and we are going to get back to work. I know I don't like staying home all the time. I like to get out and do things. Now, I have sat there on Federal Highway, and I've watched. We don't have that many compact cars that go down Federal Highway. They're mostly mid-size, small SUVs, and trucks. And I have watched it during the busy times. I've monitored how many of each one that goes. And as far as people taking the bus, I've only seen a small amount of people that are actually using the bus stops. Now, I don't know about you, but I only use Uber when it's necessary. It's not going to be something I'm going to spend money to go and use Uber for. So I think that that totally is not a relevant thing. And if you have 3-bedroom apartments, you're going to need 2 spaces for cars. And you can't go for the handicap spaces, you can't go for the visitor spaces, and the shared thing. What are you going to do? Put it in their contract? You have to share the spaces, you have to do for the businesses that are there or coming in. You can't just take it verbally that that's what's going to happen. I think that we need to get back to where America was before, working, doing our socializing, and not worrying about cutting spaces. We need to add more spaces because we're not in that walking, riding bike stage of life yet and taking public transit here and there. I don't see it happening in my time. Now, maybe these young kids coming up, but I really don't see it happening, and I think that by doing that, it's going to reduce our property value behind where this building is by the people that do have rental properties and so forth, by saying, well, we can't now park on certain areas of your grass, you can't park on the street, you can't do, so I don't vote for reducing any parking spaces. If anything, we need to add spaces. That's my 2 cents worth.
Ma'am, last time you were here, were you the one that asked about the wall?
I did.
Okay, so I don't think we ever answered that. There will be a wall.
Well, I
with
would
this
say,
development.
you know, on the Fort Lauderdale side by Walgreens, they put a wall because they had to elevate the land up a little from where our property was. So on Walgreens' side, it's 3 feet. On my side, it's 6 feet. That doesn't prevent people from sitting on the wall, climbing over my wall to get into my street. But in the back, we have, all of our neighbors have a fence that we've put up and, you know, to keep the cars from coming into our lawns.
So let me make sure I understood what you just said. The 6-foot wall is
on
it
our older
exists?
property side.
It's on the which side?
My side, which is Pompano Beach. Fort Lauderdale had to put a 3-foot wall because they
Okay,
elevated 3
So
feet.
they're gonna, so let me go ahead and finish and restate this. So when the site plan comes, because that was on there last time and we didn't tell you this, but there is a requirement of this development to put a 6-foot wall between your property and this
And theirs.
property.
Now,
I think
they-
there's a
are they
fence
gonna
there today.
maintain their roots from their trees? They have that Florida holly, which has those huge roots that come up, pick up my pavers, pick up my fence, whatever. If they're gonna have native trees, what native trees are they gonna have? The ones that are like gonna go underneath that wall into our property, into our sewer system?
Okay, so that will be part of the site plan.
Right.
But they don't allow invasive, I mean, we're not allowed to.
I don't
we
know,
allow
there's
people-
a Florida holly right there now that's got my fence that used to
Ma'am,
look
I'm
like this.
sorry, I mean in a new development, you're not allowed to plant
Right.
this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. Yeah.
So I'm just checking because, you know.
No, and that's why I was trying to answer the other question, because
and
I realized I didn't
appreciate that
answer it.
Because I remembered you.
Yeah, I didn't answer it
that.
last time, and I'm sorry.
Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. Is there anybody else that wants to speak?
Oh, yes, my name is Robert Spence. I'm at 1551 Southeast 23rd Avenue. I don't know if you guys ever do the morning commute, around 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. on US 1. Do we really need more cars? I mean, we don't widen the highways. We just keep stacking them and packing them like sardines. Really. And as far as, you know, people working from home, not everybody works from home. Okay? Some people have to go out and commute to their job. Okay? And I don't know what kind of communist bullcrap is this, this like everybody giving up their cars crap. Everybody riding public transportation. Where do we live? That's all I got.
Your name and address, please.
My name?
Yes, ma'am.
Isabel Cristina Cortez,
Okay.
and I live behind, you know, exactly where they're gonna build.
Mhm.
That's my house.
What's the address?
You know the address?
Oh. 1561 Southeast 23rd Avenue, Pompano.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I know, I'm concerned too about, you know, what they're gonna divide the behind of my house, like the fence, what she said.
Well,
They're
they
gonna
said
put
they're
a
gonna
wall.
put the fence in.
Oh, okay,
They'll put a wall.
okay. That's what is my concern, you know, about people is gonna park in the behind, so my house is right there, and the pool is there, so I don't know how it's gonna be,
Okay.
okay?
So are you for the reduction of the parking spaces or no? You want them to reduce them, or you want them to keep them above?
No, reduce them.
Closer to the microphone, please.
Yes.
Tell them you want them to, you have to stand.
Oh, okay, you know, like reduce it, don't put it too big,
Would not be well.
well,
Right.
Okay.
okay,
Thank you, ma'am.
thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. We'll close the public hearing. Did you want to respond to any of that? or-
Yeah, I just wanted to respond to the reason, the question of why aren't we adding any more layers, like levels? It's because of cost.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
just for purposes before the motion goes forward, I wanted to make sure with the applicant, we're clear on the conditions. There are 5 that have been provided, but since the board has conversed on this subject, two have been added. One, I believe, is the one related to shared parking. And that is going to be a declaration that would be executed by the property owner restricting that parking or discussing that element of which the city would be a beneficiary of that agreement. There is no party status by the city. The other one, there was a discussion about, I think it was 5,000 square feet.
It was co-working space.
Okay, and I'm not sure if the board, if the chair, if you would restate what the condition.
Yeah, I wasn't sure how that would actually be. I mean, how would you enforce that by like I'm not sure how you would even enforce that.
I'm asking because I wasn't sure.
Well, she's saying that the property owner would somehow assure us that you would have 5,000 square feet of co-working space. And how would you envision that?
The way that we presented it was that we were designating an entire floor or 5,000 square feet of the existing office building solely for residential use as a co-working space. So like a residential amenity.
What keeps you from changing your mind? How is that to be enforced?
Condition of this board would have to, this is something we're offering.
Okay.
Code enforcement has to enforce that?
Chairman, I have
Sorry.
a little problem with that condition.
Yeah.
Because this building's gonna be around for a lot of years. And what if the residents don't end up using it and say, why can't you convert that into recreational space? Why can't you convert that into whatever is the big thing 20 years from now? Can we?
Mrs. Coleman, that is part of the parking reduction, though, that they're providing that space. Like, they're using that as a reason that they can reduce some of the parking, is that they're providing that.
They were saying that they would offer it up, but I don't disagree with what you're saying, Mrs. Coleman, that yeah, it might be something, because if it was recreational space, you would have no more parking because they would come across the street and use it or something.
Yeah, but I also think that that's getting just a little too far in the weeds.
So maybe we don't even touch that.
Well, too far in the weeds for, I get that that's a great amenity right now. But I also don't want to get too far in the weeds in a private builder's business plan for the future. That just is, I think, a little beyond the scope of what we ought to be doing.
Yeah.
But,
I tend to
you know,
agree
I
with
think that we can, for now, we can view that on site plan and in good faith say, yes, we approve it because it's got this on the site plan. Now, that doesn't keep them from 2 years from now changing that, but they can't build other units there. So, you know, it's not like it's going to be more apartments.
The only question I would have to the applicant, maybe the staff, is I thought, however, that this, at least as it was being discussed, that this particular square footage was somehow connected to a benefit that they were receiving.
No, I think she's offering it as a benefit to.
Meaning,
the
are we
reduction of
reducing
parking.
that square footage from, no, it has not been. And Max just pointed that out, so that actually helps us.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it is considered part of the parking reduction, right? Like, you're offering this up as, wasn't that like number 3, or?
It's up to you guys. We already have to do a deed restriction for the moderate income units. If you really want to do that, it could be a deed restriction.
But I think I like Mrs. Coleman's point better, though. Honestly, if you
like
guys want to do it for the next 10 years.
All I'm saying,
We're not asking for a reduction in the residential parking.
It's part of the office, though.
No.
But this is not in the office building. This is in the.
It's in the office building. They're reducing the one floor of the office building, is what she said.
Well, they're using it for co-working space, and they're saying that the people would come out of the apartment building and use it.
Okay. I see what you're saying there. But that's part of their business plan.
I agree with you, Mrs. Coleman. I think we should stay out of that. If we're happy that they're doing it today, then fine.
Doing it today. right, but I
Okay.
just do not want to get in the habit from this, this dais of
Right.
getting that deeply into a private owner's
Business plan, yeah. No, I'm with you. Once you said that, I was like, yeah, that really,
When we're making concessions, because they're making concession, I would want, like, there has to be some, like, 10 days from now, they could turn around and go, no, you know what, we're just gonna not do that, and we
I
made
asked
the
her that.
concession.
I asked her that originally, though. And that wasn't really a concession. And, I mean, it's it's not a concession for us, it's a concession for them.
But
You're saying-
usually it's a reduction in units or extra trees or dune restoration or something along those lines that is almost external or something that's going to be around for a very long time. I don't know what the community needs for how we work are going to be, even a few years from now. And I know of a number of places that started out as co-workspaces and didn't work.
No, I don't disagree with you in the idea that I don't want to tell someone how to run their business by any means. But part of the 12% reduction, or that they're seeking, the adjustment, I stopped saying reduction, part of the adjustment that they're receiving is based on them allotting this portion of the commercial units, the commercial building, to get that reduction. And what we're tying it to is saying, like, I don't disagree with either of you in the sense that it may not necessarily work. It may not be used. They might want to use it for something else. But if they turn around and they turn it back into a potential commercial rental space where they're now occupying the building more, they don't have the sufficient parking at that point to facilitate that.
I just want to address that really quick because I think we're having a lot of conversation on the topic. The applicant presented that in their presentation as one of the eligible alternatives that the director can authorize for projects that are going through site planning. I think it was a little confusing that it was provided as justification for this request, because I think the way that it was intended to be presented, sorry to speak for you, was that they could ask for an other eligible alternative from the director, and they've used this kind of obscure proposal as an other eligible alternative example that they could use to request an up to 5% reduction, 10% reduction in the parking that's required of the project. There were other things that they can ask for, like the proximity to transit to get a reduction in the parking, and other things that they could ask for, none of which the director felt comfortable at the time of the initial request, because it included, in the initial request, it included reductions to the residential component. Since then, that has shifted, but their justification has largely remained untouched. And so they're only providing that as an example of types of things authorized by our code. It's not actually a function of this request.
Thank you. I apologize. I misunderstood. It's on me.
And on top of it, I think if you add all those theoretical
Percentage.
reductions down, they're way past 12%. They're
Yeah,
30 or 40% or
The
something
one about the bus stops is a 15%
by
in
itself. So it's by itself, okay. So,
Thank you.
okay, are we done on,
Do I get any closing statements?
no, you want to close? I want to talk. Okay. I hadn't gotten to one thing I want you to look at that concerns me, okay? The appendage that comes out of the west side of the building in the middle, what is that? The elevator tower or something?
Of the new building or the existing building?
No, the existing office building, there's an appendage, it's whatever, 30 feet and then 20 feet wide or something, or whatever it is. Okay. Go to, yeah, on this plan, you see the little blue tip that comes out the left side of the building?
I don't see my cursor. Yeah, okay, I was wondering what that was.
So that's the stair. Okay. Man, I should have never said anything. I'm going to wake up in the middle of the night and see that thing. I know it.
No,
I
I see the cursor.
Oh, is that what?
Little appendage that you got your, yeah, you got your
Okay,
pointer
good.
on. Okay. So that's the stair. That's the
Is that a
stair tower.
stairway? Please help me.
Are you guys, is this like a subliminal thing for me? What's up? I should have never said
It is
that.
a stairwell and it's existing.
Okay, so it's just a stairwell? It's just the stairwell?
Correct, yes.
Okay, all right. Here's where I'm going. So if you park, the way that this is laid out, if you park in the very north end of the piece that goes to, the parking spaces are east and west on this new deck, you have, the way I see it, you have to walk all the way over to the other deck, all the way to the east end, and then you go down the stair. Is that right?
You have two stairs taking you out of the new deck of parking.
Yeah, well, one of them's in the southwest corner.
One is in the southwest corner, and the other one is
in the northeast corner.
Toward the
Very
the
east end,
ramps. Mhm.
before the ramp goes down.
That is correct.
So you've got to walk 200 feet to get to that stair to go inside of the building and then go back into the building. So you're going to walk a whole football field to get into this building if you're parked in the north end. I think you ought to seriously think about trying to tie to that stairwell somehow and have another means of getting into the building, and you could get into it right at that stair tower. Now, the problem's going to probably be elevation, because it looks like you're at 16.2. Do not go back to that other parking thing. Okay.
We have the floor plan
I'm not looking.
on your presentation.
You tell me when you got it done. I'm not looking. I can't believe it.
But they have it.
You got my parking thing up there. Okay.
Okay, this is only the ground floor you're looking at. So actually, the second floor.
I'm looking at the second floor. I'm on 201.
Okay, so the
A201.
parking extends above what is actually the drive-through for the bank. And this actually has a connection to that existing stairwell that we're talking about.
The new parking deck has a connection to that stairwell?
Will.
I'm sorry, it will?
Yes,
Oh, okay, so you can get into the building from there.
that is correct.
Oh, okay, that's fine. That was all I wanted.
This point right here.
Yeah,
Yes, correct.
okay. So, but I think there's probably an elevation problem, but that's okay. You do it with stairs. You can get it.
We can easily.
Yeah, because that might be the intermediate platform on that, at that point or something. I don't know, whatever. You got to figure it out.
Yes,
You're gonna
that's-
do
that's
what
what we do.
All I'm saying is on the site plan, I don't want to see people walking all the way down to the other end of that to get off of that.
Correct.
Okay. If they can walk straight into the building, that's a much better solution then. Okay. All right. Anybody else? So we've added one condition, at least. And I think the others, like you said, it's a none.
Yeah, totally. I thank you for the clarification, but I'm completely in agreement with you guys now.
Okay. All right, well, with that, the chair, or did you want to close? I'm sorry. I think I did cut you off, didn't I?
I just wanted to urge you to please pay attention to the standard B of the adjustment standards that talks about all of these requirements that are supposed to fall on the city to reduce parking, to think of multi-uses, to think of, multiple modes of transportation. We are doing that with our submittal. So I just wanted you to really look at those. And I think that this process, this adjustment application, is a way for the city to do that with your approval. Of course, there's that minor that doesn't come to you guys, but we're under that minor threshold in front of you. I also wanted to remind you that the reduction of parking for the residential component in our project is already reduced because we're providing mixed income units. So it's kind of already implied that the demand and parking for mixed income is really not going to be the same as a regular development. And that was it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Oh, I'm sorry, there was one other thing. I can attest that the submittal that we made, initially, which was the adjustment and the site plan, has not changed except for the fact that we added this building. And like I said, the only comments were zoning, landscape, which were things that we're comfortable in addressing, and then fire had absolutely no comments, engineering had no comments, utilities had no comments. So I just wanted to point out that nothing has changed since you actually did review the site plan, and it will come back to you in the way that you see it. Staff's condition says that we have to remain in substantial conformance to this plan and to the application that we submitted under the site plan. So I think that kind of should give you some comfort, hopefully.
Okay. And if this, assuming this does move forward and we have a major site plan come in front of us, you heard what this, the young lady said about the trees?
Yes.
So let's make sure that we are very definitive about how those invasive trees are going to be removed. I'm sure they're mediated because Wade would have a heart attack if you left it
Yes.
here. So, and I shouldn't have said that. I did. So there. He would laugh at me if I said it. So, whatever. Anyway, the point is we do want to answer people's concerns when we can, when we can, for sure. So,
And it is a requirement of code that we remove all invasives.
yeah, all those invasives. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. All right, and with that, the chair will entertain a motion unless people want to keep talking.
Mrs. Coleman, do you feel comfortable? I'm just curious about the DRC process.
No. I want to feel comfortable with it. I think this is a much, much better application. And seeing as how our codes, as much as we may think that the codes are not reflecting, our comprehensive plan is not reflecting reality out there, it is our comprehensive plan. And we do, they meet every requirement on the parking for residential. Even though this building is not, the occupancy is higher than what was cited in cities and such, I don't think that 43 spaces is a huge ask for this. It's 12.5%. They could ask and probably get administratively that requirement with a minor reduction. That's not my issue now. My issue is the process. And I know that we're very close. I can tell you right now, if this same presentation came before me with the site plan and we passed on the site plan, I would be comfortable in voting for this reduction in parking. But I'm not comfortable beginning to set the precedent of allowing projects to come here that have not been fully vetted by DRC. And I know how hard you guys have worked on this. I'm not opposing it, but I am saying that the process is the process, and I don't want to begin, well, we did it on that one, so do it on this one. And that's my issue.
I agree with you. I do. I think that with the addition of the piece of condition from my perspective, I could see myself voting for this. But I think it's about, again, following procedure. And if it were to come back, again, like you said, with the site plan attached to it and an additional item to our agenda, I could see myself being in favor of this.
I hate to ask you to come back a third time, but
They're going to have to come back a third time if we approved it tonight anyway.
well, I know. But again,
You'd have to come back for the site plan. If we
Again,
approve this
they're-
tonight.
Oh, meaning a
trying to
third time because we already came, yes.
yeah. But right now, what they're trying to do is get an idea of whether this board would support this level of reduction in parking.
Right.
And I don't think our attorney would allow us to give them that with, so.
If I may, we're sort of in a similar situation we were in last time. The board may remember, as Paula, Ms. West has mentioned, both items were brought to this body December. It included this adjustment and the site plan at the same time. And I too have always had issues about which goes first, chicken or the egg. And so at that time, you may remember, the applicant agreed to put it off to reconfigure, meet together, and to present something again to this board. Again, this may be an opportunity for the applicant, recognizing the feedback that you've received so far. Doesn't mean that you don't get what you need, but there will be another opportunity where you will have to reconvene with this board for your site plan, and that both of those items can be scheduled on that agenda, and this body could postpone its decision on this item and consider both at the same time. That may be an option for the applicant without having a hard, fast decision, because you would need at least 4 votes in order to, because you have 6 individuals tonight. So it's a majority. So again, that's something for the applicant to think about if the board chooses to offer that or not.
So let's assume that we did put that off and we're not going to turn it down. We were just, going to table it? We would table it until the site plan came with it?
That's correct.
Okay. Go ahead.
No, I just, there's nothing compelling. If there was something compelling, but I've heard nothing compelling that says we have to do this tonight without the DRC recommendation and meeting the 4 corners of our regulations.
It's just the applicant's will and desire.
No, and I understand their side of it too, which is, it's a huge thing. Either they move forward with it designed with this parking, or they're not gonna be able to do it financially, which I can understand that, so I don't know, maybe, hopefully they've gotten a strong enough feeling. Well, it's whatever the board's will is. I guess I should leave it to that. Go ahead, Robert.
And I would agree. I would like to see it come in concurrently, but I can't guarantee that I'm going to be in favor of this, this many spaces. So if we can, whatever we can do to maybe squeeze a few more spaces out, that you can do that doesn't overly burden the client, your client, cost-wise. I mean, as it sits, I don't like approving something that's not, with the site plan, because then we're stuck with the parking, and then we look at the site plan, we're like, oh man, we already approved the parking. So I would not vote in favor of it if it went today.
Okay. Does anybody want to make a motion then?
We would be fine bringing both the site plan and the adjustment back together.
With the feedback you've already gotten?
Yes.
Okay.
Then, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion.
Please.
I would make a motion that we table LN 809, Vera major adjustment, a major administrative adjustment to our next,
They're not ready. They're not going to be ready then. To come concurrently.
To come concurrently with the site plan.
Okay, so it's not time.
Is that okay with you, counsel?
I was going to ask, I heard you say April was your target. Is that?
Yes, but.
Yeah, but if we put April, then we stick
Yeah, that's
in.
what I
What
was-
happens if it ends up May, then
Yeah,
we're not.
Right, and my concern is if we want to address Mr. Hartzell's conditions and we add more parking, we might have to be kicked back to DRC one more time, so it's.
I would rather make the motion if it's appropriate to, with council, to come concurrent with the site plan. We can't do that?
Well, I'm struggling because I don't know if our rules for the board permit going beyond a certain time period. I know with other boards, we have
We might be restricted to 60 days or something like that?
Yeah, I don't know as we speak. What I'm going to suggest is allow the motion to go forward as you have stated it, and if there is any concern or any issue legally, I'll bring that matter back before the board at the next meeting.
Okay. Do you hear what he just said? Yeah, this is important because it has to do with timing potentially.
Right, so if the board should move forward and favorably postpone this item to be brought back concurrently with the site plan review, I've instructed them, if there is an issue legally in regards to when that should be brought back, I will advise this board of that in its next meeting. And we'll also advise you as well. We'll let the motion go forward as it is now.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Now,
I make a motion that we postpone LN 809 Vera Major Administrative Adjustment petition to come from this meeting, from this agenda, to come forward with the site plan for the project.
are you good with that?
Is there a time certain on that, or?
No, that's what we were just talking about. That's up to him.
Okay.
Okay. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Does anybody have any questions or comments on the motion? Okay, seeing none, Bobby, call the roll on the postponement of item number 2.
Carla Coleman,
Yes.
Rich Daly,
Yes.
Gigi DeBeck,
Yes.
Robert Hartzel,
Yes.
David Mingus,
Yes.
Fred Stacer.
Yes. Okay.
Good, thank
See
you, God
back
bless.
at site plan time, whatever.
Mr. Chair, can I just
Yes.
request like 2 minutes?
Okay, yeah, we'll take a quick, 5-minute break.
Recess?
5-minute recess, yeah. We're going to recall item number 2 for a quick administrative issue per our attorney.
Mr. Chair, and to the rest of the board, while we were moving from one item to the next, I had an opportunity to look at the board's rules of procedure, and it does say that when there's a continuation requested or motion given, that it's a continuation to a fixed date and time. And so with that understanding, I spoke with the applicant's representative and asked her to come back in, and also was able to get a date certain that they'd like this item to come back in conjunction with the site plan, and I believe that's going to be April.
April, yes.
And that should there become a need because of whatever the circumstances are in the review process, they would notify the board, and we can always, this board can always, again, permit that item to be continued again to a date certain.
April.
April 22nd.
Mr. Chairman, do I need to withdraw my motion?
Did she just amend it?
Okay, I'm asking, I guess, what the appropriate, amend the motion
Yes.
to a time certain. Mr. Chairman, may I
Yes.
amend my previous motion?
Ms. Coleman, is your microphone on? Or
Sorry, not. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to amend my previous motion on LN 809 to postpone this project concurrent with the site plan until April 22nd, 2026.
Okay. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any questions on the motion? Mrs. West, you're fine with the motion?
I'm good, yes.
Okay.
I agree. Thank you.
All right. No questions? Okay. Bobby, call the roll on the amended motion.
Carla Coleman,
Yes.
Rich Daly,
Yes.
Gigi DeBeck,
Yes.
Robert Hartzell,
Yes.
David Mingus,
Yes.
Fred Stacer.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you. God bless.
Okay. Thank you. All right, with that, we'll move on to item number 3. I bet you they thought we'd never get to them the way we're going. Okay. 324 Haas, P&Z 22-124032. Project locations 324 Northwest 6th Street. So you're presenting?
Good evening, Chair and board members. Saul Umanya, planner with Development Services. I am here to present the major site plan for 324 House, and I'm actually quite pleased to be here before you with this application. As you can tell, it says PZ22. So this is it's been 4 years in the making, and it has undergone multiple DRC and post-DRC review meetings. And I do want to state that the current owner is not the original owner. They were actually the ones that took over. They brought Austin Fox and implemented the last changes that finally brought this project to you. So I'm really happy to be here right now with this project and get this approval seek this approval from this board. A general location, the subject property is located south of Northwest 6th Street and just west of Dixie Highway. This is another view of that location. As you can tell, this location is mostly surrounded by vacant properties, and there's some scattered multifamily units around. Funny enough, everything that I highlighted on this project is all within 700 feet of this project. So to the south is the City Vista Apartments, to the north is the Sonata Apartments, to the east is the Sonata Apartments, and then to the north is the new Highland Oaks. So you can tell that this area is multifamily in nature. And this is actually the northern edge of the downtown Pompano Beach Overlay District. So about the site plan. The proposal is a mixed-use development consisting of 20 residential units. This is in the edge of the sub-district is the edge of the Pompano Downtown Overlay District, and the underlying zoning district is mixed-use optional. So they have the option to either make this either all residential or mixed-use. They obviously chose to do mixed-use. So it's 20 units, 16 are permitted by right. They also have the option to explore additional density in this district by providing a public art fee. So the applicant is proposing to provide a public art fee. The artwork itself is not part of this approval today. That process is approved by the City Commission. However, they are required to provide 1% of the total cost either into the fund or provide artwork. They are proposing to do an artwork. The AAC already saw this artwork, and Austin will bring more light into that later today. But again, it's not going to be approved by you today. It's going to be approved by the City Commission. However, 16 units are permitted by right, 4 they're getting through this density bonus. Additionally, per the code requirements of the overlay district, applicants must either provide affordable units or contribute to the housing fund. The applicant has committed to provide 3 affordable units, which meets the minimum requirement. And as mentioned earlier, the application was originally filed in 2022. Since that time, there has been multiple code amendments, particularly related to parking in the Northwest area, which removes some incentives. This project came before the text amendments were adopted by the city, so they never fell under the zoning in progress rules. So in front of you today is a site plan that meets the code of the previous code. However, it should not be seen as not code compliant because it does meet the code at the time that it was submitted. Due to the time that it has taken for us to get to this point, the only things that has changed is the amount of parking required. They are providing 25 feet. If this application were to come in today, it would require 30 spaces. However, I just want to put on the record that you should not see it as non-compliant because it does meet the code of the time. I know that's a little redundant, doesn't make any sense, but it is how it should be reviewed. They're also providing ground floor retail, and parking is located in the rear, and they're also providing some on-street parking spaces, and 3 stories in height, totaling 35 feet. The AAC approved this 3 weeks ago, and they had no comments and no additional conditions. They loved the project. In front of you is the applicable review standards as detailed in the staff report. Staff finds that the project meets the review standards, provided all conditions of approval are satisfied prior to the building permit. Here are the staff report, the staff conditions. I will read them into the record. Condition number 1, provide the required affordable housing via a declaration of restricted covenants or in lieu fee. Pursuant to section 115.3709K, each residential development is required to set aside a minimum of 15% of its proposed units as affordable housing or contribute in lieu fees of $10,927 per unit in accordance with Chapter 154. The City Commission has adopted policy via Resolution 23195 to require the use of the county's mixed-use income house density bonus policies 21.6.2 or 21.64 for any projects in the DPOD with 7 or more units. As I mentioned before, they are providing the 3 units required. They're not paying into the fund, they're providing the 3 units. Condition number 2, the plat must be approved by Broward County Planning Council and recorded with Broward County records prior to the approval of the building permit. This is already in process. Plats no longer come to the P&Z, so you might have not seen it, but it is already in process. Number 3, provide the required public art and or fee pursuant to table 155.30709E3, density bonus option 1, which requires new construction to provide public art to use one or a combination of the following strategies: a fee equal to 1% of the project's construction costs, or a piece of artwork value at 1% of the project construction costs. The applicant has indicated that a piece of artwork will be provided. The artwork must be accessible to the public and may be displayed in the building's common areas, public open spaces, or areas along the street abutting the building. The public art is required to receive a recommendation from the Public Art Committee and approval from the City Commission. As I said before, Austin will speak on that later on as well. And the last condition is our standard conditions of approval, A through D. They have the presentation, but I'm also available for questions at the moment.
Okay. Anybody? Yes, Mr. Dally, go ahead.
Thank you. I know that we're not taking the additional parking spaces into consideration. Can you walk me through the parking, how many parking spots are permitted inside, how many parking spaces are for the ground floor retail, and then how many parking spaces are they adding around? Can you give me a breakdown?
20 spaces are required for the residential uses, and 3 spaces are required for the proposed commercial space. Right now, we don't have designated on the site plan of what it is, but 20 parking spaces should be designated and marked for residential. The rest will be for the retail spaces.
Right. And then there's 2 on street?
Yeah, those are the 2 on street. They did designate as guests, and that will, the code in the overlay district allows on-street parking to be used for the uses, so it makes sense that those will be for the retail spaces.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Hartzell.
They confirmed that they wanted to do the art piece and then they get the 4-unit bonus.
Yes, I actually saw a presentation during the AAC, and they have a conceptual plan, and I believe they already talked about who should do it.
Okay.
Who's going to do it?
Okay. Anybody else? Yes, Mrs. Coleman.
Can you walk me through how the trash loading in the front is going to work with the on-street parking?
Yes. Right now, there's an 8-foot sidewalk between the trash room and the on-street parking. It's just for staging areas. It's not going to be there permanently. It is just a designated area. When trash pickup day comes in, they'll have it in and they'll wheel it back out. Wheel it out and then put it back in. It should not be there in non-pickup days.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? All right, seeing none. Does the applicant want to make any presentation, or you don't have to, but whatever you want to do.
Yeah. Good evening, Austin Fox, 1754 East Commercial Boulevard, Austin Fox Architecture. To begin the project, as Sal said, it's from 2022. We're not the original architect that designed, so upon my client purchasing the property, just a brief history, this project was DRC approved at the time and actually in for AAC. Upon receiving the project, we saw a lot of opportunities to improve this project. So actually, my client and myself, we convened, along with staff, we withdrawed AAC, went back to DRC, even though we didn't need to, and made some improvements, which then got us here today. So I just want to preface that before we continue, that the owners are really looking to become a catalyst in the area with the upcoming development. So we'll begin. So as mentioned, it's a mixed-use building, 20 units, it's 10 per floor, and I can answer any questions about the units as we dive deeper, and the first floor being commercial. Location, as he explained, is just north of the upcoming Pompano downtown area. That's going to be coming very soon. The survey, which part of the conditions of the plat, which actually the plat has progressed, it's in recordation as we speak. Paula, who was just here moments ago, she's running the plat, so that's the latest and greatest. The site plan, we have the parking in the back. One of the improvements was originally there was no private green space. On the bottom right-hand corner, we actually integrated a private green space, probably like a private area for the tenants that are working there, living there, to really enhance the experience of the tenants. This was not there in the very beginning of the submittal. Here's the unit breakdown, so any questions regarding the units. So one of the things we also is simplified the unit layouts. Before it was 9 and 11. We made it a clean 10 and 10, offering 1s, 2s, and 3s. Before there were no 3s, only 1s and 2s, to offer more diversity for the area. Any questions regarding the project of, I guess, the setbacks, density, or the requirements? We can break this into further detail. These are your typical second and third floor plans, just copy and paste on the upper floors. Your roof plan. And the elevations meeting the multifamily design standards, which were presented to AAC. The AAC approved, again, this design, the color schemes. Some renderings for you guys. And then the art piece, this has been a focal point. So the art piece is going to be located in the public art plaza near the lobby. The owners are implementing this art piece to represent the symbol of fire, which basically ties to, the rebirth of this area. We actually went through a couple iterations, and this was the final product, so this was not a one-time thing. The local artists that they engaged gave us several options. We collectively came with this feeling that this is north of that downtown area. You kind of need a flame to start that catalyst in the area. As you can see from the Google Earth, it's a lot of vacant land, and they feel that this could be that vitalizing portion of the area. So this really symbolizes that, and as he said, we'll go to the commission, but that's the decision for this art piece. And that'll be all for that.
Okay. Thank you. You have any questions of the applicant?
As usual.
Yes, Mrs. Coleman.
My questions are really on your septet plan. As you note, there's a lot of vacant land here. This is a revitalization project. Yet when I read the septet and as you submitted it, it's a regurgitation of the principles of a septet plan. I wouldn't call it a septet plan. And I know those are confidential, and I'm not gonna try and walk through but I really did find it lacking and would urge you to take it very seriously in working with Officer Russo or whomever else you work with on, because what you submitted to us is not really a septet plan.
Understood. And our client, my client agrees that they wish they're open to having those conversations and enhancing as needed, because they want to have a product that's safe for their tenants and the people that are using it as well. So,
because normally at this stage we would be asking you, where are the cameras? Where's the camera monitoring? Who monitors? How often are they monitored? What's the lighting like on a safety factor? Is there human scale lighting? All of those sorts of things. But while your plan says this should happen, it really hasn't, it's not delineated or so much in the site plan we see before us. So please, please take seriously that need to do that.
understood. And we'll work with Russo on those recommendations. The photometric plan as submitted accounts for the lighting, and as for security features, they're, again, fully open to being cooperative and getting that done because it benefits both parties.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, anybody in the audience want to speak on it? Nope. Close the public hearing. Bring it back to the board. If there aren't any other questions, the chair will entertain a motion on item number 3.
I just have a question.
I'm sorry.
Would that be phrased as that condition to strengthen the septic plan, or?
No, this is a comment between a board member and because I think that the officer who handles the septet plan is going to take that, it's going to meet that requirement.
So the only reason I say that because the DRC, his approval from BSO is already agreed, and BSO is not part of the review process of the building permit. So it would have to be a discussion between BSO and the applicants outside of DRC to come up with an agreement, and then upload that plan to the review. They are not part of they don't review through E-plan or a building permit, but they review outside of that.
I'm going to look for some guidance here.
I don't know the answer to that
In
either.
the conditions, I'm sorry, as part of the conditions, it says provide a copy of the septet plan approved by BSO. So I'm assuming the deficiency you've noticed will be provided as a condition to this application, or this development order.
Right, I would just ask that that condition be revised in a way to say, to reflect the comments provided at the P and Z meeting. Because typically the way that that comment is, or that condition is applied is that we require they provide the stamped plan from the DRC. And so that's just
Okay.
to rephrase the condition to be clear that we want a revised version of the SEPTED plan that reflects, approved by BSO, that reflects the comments of tonight's meeting.
Mr. Chairman, is that
Yeah.
may I?
Yeah.
Okay, then I would, have you asked the applicant yet whether he's okay with the existing conditions?
No, I don't think I did, actually.
Okay.
So we're going to have to ask him whether,
Right, that was my point.
Okay.
Would you be adverse to that condition being added to the list of conditions you've seen before?
To enhancing the SEPTED plan. Yeah, there's no issue with that, but I'd just like to get more clarity exactly what you're looking for, so I make sure I hit those points.
Well, what we have now attached to your application and your site plan really isn't a SEPTED plan. It is a list of requirements for a SEPTED plan. So what we want is a real SEPTED plan. But that's casual language. I don't want to put that there. I would like to take the motion that was suggested by our attorney and put that in the record.
It would revise item 4D, which says, provide a copy of the SEPTED plan approved by Broward Sheriff's Office consistent with the comments made by the Planning and Zoning Board on this date.
In other words, where are the cameras? Where are the lights? How are they going to be monitored? How is lighting going to be handled both in the parking lot and in around the building? Are the stairwells going to be lit? All of the kinds of requirements that go into a SEPTED plan need to be delineated as to what you are doing in the SEPTED plan.
Understood. So it's to basically, if I'm correct, to enhance or further explain what's being done in the SEPTED plan, because in the SEPTED plan, we do delineate where the cameras and lights are. So I'm just trying to get clarity where, like, how to properly address it on the plan. Is it a narrative? Is it a plan? And that's why I'm leaning to you guys more for clarity on how to respond.
What a more robust narrative.
Okay.
Because right now, you say it delineates where they're going. Well, it says a bike rack has to be near the front door.
Understood.
But I don't see a bike rack, and I don't see it near the front door. I don't, you need to put some meat on the bones.
Understood. So I guess the way for your condition would be an enhanced narrative explaining these conditions you're explaining.
Specific conditions.
How we address those issues.
Right.
Okay. That's not an issue.
Okay, thank you.
okay?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So is that's the
That's the
next
added
condition?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, we've
I think-
revised the existing condition.
4 conditions still, it's just a revised 4th condition.
Yeah, it's
Revised
forward.
4D.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Who's going to make the motion then?
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion, I'm on this side this time. In consideration of planning and zoning application number 2212000032, I move that the board finds competent and substantial evidence that has been presented that satisfies the review criteria and approves the major site plan with subject to the 4 conditions provided by staff. Right? I did good?
Okay, by me.
I'll
All right,
second that.
we have a motion and a second. Any questions on the motion? Comments? Being none? Oh, okay, Mr. Hartzell.
I think staff's doing in this area, and I go down there a lot. I play pickleball behind Ely. What you're doing out there is just fantastic. I mean, just the newer developments and, using the vacant land in an efficient manner, and this is part of it. And I think it's a good project. It looks good.
Ooh, I got one other comment. In the future, because this one is technically up to code for parking, we should really like remember that when we're looking at other projects that go in near it, because up to the current code, it is deficient. So we just have to think about that as we're continuing to develop that area.
Yes, I think that was the, when we took away those park incentives, that was the idea. So this was the last project, and there should be no new ones.
Was this part of the, this was part of the thing that expired in January? Is that?
No, that was for retail and restaurant uses.
Okay.
That means everything.
Okay. All right. All right, any other questions on the motion? All right, seeing none, Bobby, call the roll.
Did Ms. Coleman, did you read the second motion?
She made the.
Seconded.
Yeah, the second.
All right. Rich Daly,
Yes.
Carla Coleman,
Yes.
Gigi DeBeck,
Yes.
Robert Hartsoe,
Yes.
David Mingus,
Yes.
Fred Stacer.
Yes. Okay, thank you very much. Good luck with your project.
It is a nice-looking project.
Okay.
They came.
And with that, we're moving on to audience to be heard. No audience to be heard tonight. Other business, we have reports by staff. Any staff report? No staff report? No staff report? You're done staffing today? Okay. Board member discussion. Mr. Daly.
This was a fun meeting, guys. I enjoyed seeing you guys. I missed you last month.
Dude, you must have a bad life, boring life. I gotta meet your kids.
They're amazing, but I just enjoy doing this kind of stuff, like giving back to the community and volunteering and being a part of this kind of process is just, I really enjoy it.
No, I appreciate that. I'm just kidding, of course.
Now you made they made us feel bad talking about you last time.
He obviously didn't watch the recording, huh?
Oh, no, did you guys do something? I didn't watch the recording. I have to go back and watch the recording. What did you guys do?
No. Dave, you got anything for us tonight? Okay, Mrs. Coleman.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Hartzell.
I'll just reiterate what I said. Staff did a tremendous job putting together. One project's a little difficult, but this last one, I really like what you're doing over there. And I know it comes out of you guys. By the time they get here, they've been through the ringer, and the project really looks good.
Okay. Mrs. Dubik? You're good? Yeah, surprisingly, I don't have anything tonight either. So.
What?
Okay. Yeah, what up?
Would you like to see the parking slide one more time?
I already adjourned, okay?